Let's be honest, we'll argue about this stuff. Who's the better killer? Who's the better legend? Who's the better victim? Now, instead of arguing about this until 2 AM, I've decided to create a bracket. And it's simple. Every fighter gets 5 rounds, 5 completely different categories, all based on one thing and one thing alone, and it's pretty simple. Who's the better legend? The science behind it? Non-existent. The passion? It's there. But I'll tell you one thing, and one thing alone. Welcome to Scream Wars. Let's jump into round 1 now, and this one is purely on kill factor. Now we're looking at the style of kills, how many kills did they get, is it going to be brute force, is it going to be efficiency? Now, there's one thing we all need to know, and that is very simple, and we'll start with Jason. Jason doesn't sneak, he doesn't run, he doesn't even do a monologue like I'm doing right now. All he does is just show up, he's there, he'll kill. And I swear to God, his kills read like a receipt. Over 160 confirmed kills. If you and I agree on what's canon and what's not, Jason X. He's turned everything from sleeping bags to harpoons into murder weapons, and you know, I'm just saying, he's like a DIY, he's just DIY with everything he does. It's unbelievable. But you know what's terrifying about Jason? And it's not the kills, it's the patience. The patience this man has to just walk and walk and walk. And sure, don't get me wrong, it's not like Michael Myers, where he'll just run in between scenes. Jason will stalk you like there's nothing ever before. Now Ghostface, on the other hand, now that is something. He's not like a mutated being that's died and came back. He is human. And it's not just one, it's multiple masks. It's multiple people behind those masks that will just do the same old movie tropes, and he'll kill you with a little funny remark. The style has got flair though, you know, a bit of chat, he'll stalk his victims, he'll try and play games with the family members. And the worst part about Ghostface is you do not know who's behind the mask. It could be a colleague, it could be a friend, it could be somebody that you've not met. But the motive of Ghostface, that's where it happens. His kills are simple, but they're psychological, and that's what really gets you. You know Jason's coming, you know what he's gonna do, but Ghostface, you don't know where he is, but you know one thing, he is inside your house. But Ghostface kills are personal, as I stated before. It could be your friend, it could be your brother, it could be anyone else. It might just be a stab, but I'll tell you what, the effectiveness and psychological damage before that you get that stab in, that's what counts. But if Jason and Ghostface walked in the room, you'd have to assume that Ghostface would pretend to be the cameraman, taunting him, hoping he doesn't notice that is the man behind that mask. Jason has to walk in 6'5", 280 pounds, and he'll just have to know that he is Jason. But Ghostface, he can slide him, he can go in and out. But the first round will have to go to Jason. I mean, come on, brute force. He's got that energetic, maybe magical power if you depend on what you're talking about. But first, for kill factor, goes to Jason. Right, now that the first round's over, we move on to round 2, and that's pretty simple. It's survivability, and it's not just about the kills, it's about how much you're willing to refuse to die.
Well, my first home was a real milestone, it had everything that I ever earned.
And if we're talking horror movie villains, Jason is basically the cockroach of Camp Crystal Lake. Actually, that's disrespectful to cockroaches, they've got more cardio. Let's start talking about the big lad himself anyway. He's been bombed, shot, axed, macheted, blown up, hanged, it is all over, but yet he refuses to die, and he comes back again. Other than Ghostface. Now, Ghostface does come back, but not as himself. Ghostface has took many different forms over the 7 movies that Scream has been about. Now let's think about how Ghostface has died. If we're talking about the original Billy and Stu, Billy got shot and Stu got crushed by an old TV. Now, I'm just saying, if it was made in 2025, the TV wouldn't have killed him. Now, if we're talking about the tactics of survivability, we have to think of Jason here. Jason doesn't have a tactic to survive. He shows up, kills them all, and leaves. It's as very simple as that. We're talking about how much damage he can take. We've seen him on the roof of Manhattan with him in a boxer. We've seen all of that. We've also seen the fact that Jason, who is afraid of water from Freddy vs. Jason, who has drowned twice and came back. It's I know it sounds like I'm bigging up Jason here, but you have to think of the facts here. Other than Ghostface, as it says, it's not the same person every time under the mask, but that trope of him returning is just psychological. If you think about the first three Scream films, when you come with Sydney, she thinks you've killed the Ghostface in the first one, he comes back in the second, he thinks he's killed in the second, he comes back in the third. It's just as simple as that. But now, of course, they know it's a copycat killer, but that just means if Jason dies, there's no one copying Ghostface. Ghostface is eternal, because everybody can play him. But in terms of winners, and I think we have to think of this quite easily, I think you've already made your mind up in the comments, it's Jason Voorhees. It's easy. It's an easy round for Jason Voorhees. He's eternal, almost immortal, but the amount of damage this man has took compared to Ghostface is pretty simple. Jason Voorhees gets the win. Alright, now we head into round 3, which is Fear Factor. This isn't about kills, it isn't about survive, it's about unrelenting terror. And I'm not talking about eating eyeballs for 500 quid on TV. No. This is fear.
If this was a scary movie, I'd pretend to cry.
Let's be honest, a lot of these killers have laundry bills this high that no one can afford. But let's think about it. Have you ever been scared to go in the woods thinking that Jason is behind you? Have you ever been scared to pick up the phone? But we have to think about who really has terror here. Psychological versus brute force. Because you know that Jason is always there, in those woods, following you, looking you. But you don't know where Ghostface is until it's too late. Now, if you go back a couple of years, think about it, it's 1996, Scream is just released, and the caller ID for in America and over the world shoots up. Everybody wants to know who's in the other end of that phone, and that is thanks to Scream. But in 1980, nobody wanted to be a camp counsellor. It's pretty simple. If you look at the stats back then, the number from 1979 to 1980 goes all the way down. That's just the tremendous effect of Jason and his fear. Now, if we're talking in the movies, I think this goes to Ghostface. It's pretty simple. Because you imagine your friend group and one of them is killing each and every one of them off. It's a game of Mafia, it's a game of Among Us. He's trying to find the imposter. But here's the thing. You can't find him until it's too late. This round goes to Ghostface. Now going into our next round, it goes 2-1 for Jason, as you can see in the scorecard right there. I would like to take a minute, if you really enjoy this content, please leave a like, comment and turn the bell icon. I know it's pretty much what every YouTuber does these days, but it really does help the channel, letting them know that this isn't just a abyss, like I'm talking to a blank screen here, no one's watching. But let's get into the 4th round, and that is cultural impact. Alright folks, welcome to the round where Blade meets the brand, because sure, Both of these maniacs have racked up an impressive body counts, but who really left a mark on the outside world of their films? Let's get started with the original walking trauma, Jason Voorhees. Jason didn't just star in horror films, he defined them. He's the reason camp counselors became a systematic death sentence. Before him, slashers were just scary, after him, they were rituals. By the mid-80s, you couldn't swing a machete without hitting a knockoff hockey mask. Even if you watched the Friday the 13th films, you knew the mask. It's up there with Batman's cowl and your Nan's tea cozy, instantly recognisable. And every year on Halloween, about half the population of Earth became Jason for one night, the other half were running from him. And let's be honest, most of them bought their costume for $7.99 and it still worked. Jason transcended horror and became a symbol of vengeance of silence, of that mate who talks about fancy dress far too seriously. And the merch, mate, action figures, video games, skateboards, even lunchboxes, nothing says corporate success like slapping a mass murderer on a furnace. As the 80s came to a close, the 90s came swinging back with Scream, and suddenly horror got clever again. Ghostface was born from mythology or trauma, he was born from cinema itself. Ghostface didn't just stab his victims, he stabbed tropes. He made horror self-aware, he looked at Jason and Freddy and said, right, let's take the piss and make everything terrifying. The phone calls, the pop culture references, the fact that Ghostface knew he was in a horror movie, it flipped the whole genre on its head. And if Tarantino and Hitchcock shared a baby, it was definitely Ghostface. And the thing is, Ghostface became timeless without ever being the same person twice. Every film was a new face under the mask, a new motive, a new mirror held up to the audience. He's not just one killer, he's every generation's reminder that we keep watching these movies and secretly rooting for the monster. And you can't ignore the legacy. Scream brought back horror to the mainstream and made it horror nerd cool. It made Deadpool meta before it was even born. Jason created the formula. Ghostface reminded us he reinvented it. Jason came from the golden age of slashers, the unstoppable silent killer who defined the 80s. Ghostface revived the corpse of horror in the 90s and gave it a wit, personality and a phone plan. Jason's the blueprint, Ghostface is the remix. So who wins the cultural impact round? On sheer iconography alone, Jason's mask is eternal. But Ghostface gave us horror the second wind it needed. He's not just scary, he's relevant. Ghostface takes this one for keeping horror alive, loud and self-aware. Because in the end, Jason might have built the genre, but Ghostface reminded us why we love it. And unlike Jason, Ghostface actually knows what a movie is. Two kills, 2 rounds each. We're dead even, folks, which means it all comes down to the final round. We're ending this one with a proper scrap, and that's right, it's head to head. It's Jason versus Ghostface. It was just past midnight on Camp Crystal Lake. The air smells like a damp pine and regret. Somewhere in the dark, the moon catches on something metallic. A machete or a very determined recycling bin. Jason stands there, silent, colossal, and built like a council bin left too long in the rain. His breath rasps against the inside of the mask. His grip tightens around the handle. He's waiting. On the other side of the clearing, Ghostface paces, muttering into a cracked phone. What's your favourite scary movie, he says, rehearsing it under his breath, like he's done 100 times. The question's iconic, but tonight, it feels thin. The wind shifts. A branch creaks. Jason turns. Slow as a glacier. And that's all it takes. Ghostface freezes. Even through the mask you can feel him thinking, aye, that's a big lad. He lunges first, knife flashing in the dark, cutting through mist. Jason doesn't move. Not yet. The blade lands, shoulder hit, shallow. Jason looks down at it like someone just poked him with a butter knife. Then he moves. One swing, the machete arcs wide, cleaving air, catching tree bark and pride in equal measure. Ghostface stumbles back, fast, ducking behind a log, breath ragged. He dials. The phone rings. Somewhere deep in the woods, another phone rings back. He frowns. Wait, whose line? Jason's already there. The fight turns clumsy, primal, ugly. Two silhouettes thrashing through moonlight. A slash, a thud, a splash. Ghostface dives towards the lake. Desperate, Jason follows, slow but certain. The water takes them both. A tangle of shadows, blades and bad decisions. Minutes pass. The surface stills. The ripples remain, glinting under the moon like silver scars. And then a shape rises. Jason, dripping, unmoved, holding Ghostface mask like a trophy. He tosses it aside. It floats for a moment, then sinks. Face first, into the dark. They'll say it wasn't much of a fight. They'll say it was predictable. But legends don't die because we expect them to. They die because someone finally stops the story. And tonight, Jason did just that. That's it for this week's episode of Horror Fights. If you want some more, please let me know in the comments down below. But for now, I'll see you later.